Bill?
This is tremendous. This is amazing. It's amazing. I'd like to see by show of hands if there's anybody in this room that does not believe in Santa Claus. When I'm through, that will change. Now you need to know, this speech is 16 years old, and you need to know how it came into being. My 2 grandchildren asked their mother, a very strong Christian woman, if there was a Santa Claus, and she said no. And it broke my little heart. So then I got to thinking. I think a lot. And I thought to myself, there can't be all of this hoopla about a Santa Claus without there being some basis in fact. I didn't have the computers back then, so I went to the library and I studied, and these are some things that I learned. And tonight you're going to learn who were Ipaneos and Nona. And also you'll find out during the speech what my father had in common with Santa Claus. 3 different things you need to look for there. The Santa Claus, actually his name was Nicholas. He was born, and his parents were Ipaneos and Nona, and he was born in the year 280 AD. Now he was born into a family that had some money, and when young Nicholas was a teenager, he had an uncle by the same name who was the Archbishop of the monastery of Xanthos. And anyway, a plague came over Lycia. He was Lycian, which is in the southeastern corner of Turkey. Anyway, this plague, after his mother and father were married 30 years before they conceived him, they died when he was a teenager. So he was left alone, and he had to go into the monastery to be with his uncle. It was the only option that they had. Now, the family had some money. He had to dispose of it. He learned of a family in the neighborhood that was very poor, and they had 3 daughters. As was the custom when a family was poor, since they didn't have welfare, the oldest girl had to go into the local bordello and sell her services for prostitution. This angered young Nicholas a great deal. So he snuck into the house one night, and the stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that they would dry out. He placed the gold coins in her stockings. The next night, he did exactly the same thing. The 3rd night, he tried to do it again, and he was caught. Party was over, and I hate to tell you, but that was the last time Santa Claus ever delivered. He wasn't in a red suit, and he was only a teenager when he did this. However, he went on to be a Catholic priest, a very, very popular Catholic priest, a warm, loving, caring, kind man. And on December the 6th, in 342 AD, at the age of 62, Santa Claus died. So we've been without a Santa Claus for a long, long, long time. Now, the word of his work spread around, and he was known as Santa Clausen in German, and the Dutch called him Sinterklaas. And they really were infatuated with him. And as you know, the Dutch settled in New York City. So they had 5 holidays a year, and one of them was Sinterklaas Day, and one of them was Christmas, so they would celebrate at the same time. The boys and girls would put their shoes out, and they would get cold if they were bad little girls, and they would get candy if they were good. Now, New York City is an important part of this scenario because there, the work of Thomas Nance, Irving Moore, and Dr. Clement Clark Moore were the people who originated much of what we know about Santa Claus. Dr. Clement Clark Moore read to us the night before Christmas on December 23rd in the year 1822, and that's when we learned about the reindeer. And there's no significance to the reindeer's name, he just liked the poetic value of it. Now, Some of his manuscripts are in the Coptic Orthodox Museum in Cairo, Egypt, and actually parts of his clothing and his skull are in the St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church in Flushing, New York. Now, what did my father have in common with Santa Claus? My dad lost his mother, father, and sister in a plague in New York City. He lost his parents in a plague. Santa Claus became famous in New York City. My dad was raised in New York City. And for many, many years, to me, my dad was Santa Claus. So, now you understand a little bit about the background of Santa Claus, and you can understand why he was so popular and why this legend spread throughout the land. What does this all mean? Santa Claus was indeed a Christian and who set an example of giving and according with the words of Jesus about sharing and loving. And Toastmasters.